Holy football game. 9-6 Yankees win. Will Warren gets the W. It didn't feel like he should have, but the Yankees are now 5.5 games ahead of first place now over Tampa, a team that I don't think many of us were afraid of to begin with. I think a team that, Jake, at least you and I, we were saying that Boston, what they did offensively last year, they were going to be a threat, and we thought their pitching staff was going to be better. Obviously, Buehler coming into this game, his ERA was infinity practically on the road, and it showed. We destroyed Walker Buehler today. It felt good. Boston is now 10.5 games back, and you have to wonder how far back can you get early in a season where you're still a threat. And welcome in, guys. If you're new here, please make sure you subscribe and like this video. Helps us out a ton. We're talking Jazz, Aaron Judge, Will Warren, of course. Ben Rice not playing. We'll get into our picks at the end of the show, but let's start this off with Jazz. I mean, the question is whether or not Jazz is a franchise player, whether or not the Yankees can believe this. He went 3 for 5 today, 4 ribbies, hit a home run, Jake, on a pitch. It was a pitcher's pitch. It was not a pitch that should have left a yard at all, especially given where he actually hit that ball to dead center. So
incredible.
This is where I'm at with this player, and then I'll kick it back to you. I think that Jazz has all the tools, and all 30 teams in this sport can sort of understand that. He can run. You can put him at any position defensively. He can play outfield. He's great at second base. You see what he does at third. He's honestly good everywhere. It's very similar to Cody Bellinger, just in the infield dirt. And then you see the raw power. It makes a lot of sense why he falls in love with bad habits. But when you see him get back to going up the middle, working to the bigger parts of the yard, it makes him a more well-rounded player, and it makes you realize this guy's got the tools to be a star. But to be a star, you have to be able to put it together and stay on course. You can't get off track for a month and a half, and we saw that when we started this season. So, Jake, I'm going to give you some credit. You mentioned the fact that this injury can probably get Jazz back on track mentally more than anything else and make him a better player for it. And you see, this is not the same player we saw for the first few weeks of the season, and obviously the Yankees are benefiting in a major way.
Yeah, no, Jazz is definitely a different player. You already see the approach, and like you talked about, I mean, I texted you immediately. That was not an easy pitch. And my thing is that he's not even trying to hit a home run on that pitch. He's just trying to put the bat on the ball, and find, on the meat of the bat, rather. And mind you, it was brought up in one of our chats, and I totally forgot who said it, but they were spot on. I watched it today like a hawk. Jazz has gotten rid of the torpedo bat. Gotten rid of it. Doesn't have.
Why do you think he did that, by the way?
I think people got excited. Volpe was using it, and I know eventually Goldschmidt started using it. Keep in mind, when Stanton was using it, it's Stanton. He's not going to make a big deal about anything. So no one probably knew or realized. Volpe did it, and now people are like, well, this is interesting. And then I think it was Bellinger and some other people, but the point being here is that Jazz really took his time off seriously. And it shows a sign of a really mature player. I mean, he matured, I think, just over the course of this time that he was hurt. And I think he had kind of this question that the universe was essentially asking him to answer. What type of player are you going to be? Are you going to be the guy that, he could have been so good? Are you going to be the guy that people are talking about in 20, 30 years when they're bringing up random names? Oh, yeah, that Jazz Chisholm. Yeah, he could have been really good. He just never quite hit his stride. Or are you going to be the guy that's like, Jazz Chisholm, that dude was a legend in the Bronx. He was huge. He led them to a World Series. Like, what type of player are you going to be? And obviously, Jazz is hitting, 223 right now? He was hitting 170 not long ago.
It's skyrocketed at this point. I mean, he was in the 160s, 170s, and it was clear, if you watch Jazz, there's a difference between being in a slump and then playing your way into a slump. It wasn't bad luck. It wasn't what we saw out of Ben Rice, where you see a lot of hard contact on a line. No, Jazz Chisholm wasn't hitting a lot of balls on line. He honestly wasn't hitting a lot of balls on the ground either. He was striking out a ton. He was pulling a lot of foul balls, getting behind in counts, swinging at pitches outside the zone. And honestly, he wasn't a threat. His legs were brought out of this game. They just were. And when you watch Jazz today, you have to ask yourself, who does he want to be? What type of player do you want to be? Do you want to round the bases like Aaron Judge? And if you remember correctly, Jake, he was actually mentioning how, I want to combine my homers with my stolen bases and do this little competition with Aaron Judge.
Oh, yeah.
And I understand the concept. He's just having fun. I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not saying this is a comparison between one player to the other. It's the style. Aaron Judge is 6'7", 283 pounds. He can play that style. Let him do that. Let him do all the crazy finish above his head and hitting a ball 450 feet. You've got the power, the raw power to do that. But you're taking away from all these other areas of your game by trying to play the game that way. And we've sort of introduced that idea with Jazz as he came back. And Jake, you were saying maybe he starts doing a little bit less when he comes back. Maybe he's going to attempt to do less. And I think right now, if we had to actually circle an area of the game that's the most important thing to Jazz, I would say it's action. We mentioned Cody Bellinger being a player that is just action-oriented. And you mentioned soft line drives, top spin line drives. Just making sure I look at the situation and I do what I'm supposed to do in the situation. Today, and it wasn't all dandelions for Jazz. He had a man on third base with less than 2 outs, and he was kicking himself because all he wanted to do in that moment was put a ball in play. And he was fighting the whole at bat and eventually didn't get the job done. And you can tell that was his only mission in the at bat. So I think if Jazz can do this for the rest of the season, you may, and I say may, I'm not calling Jazz a star, you may look at numbers that would make the rest of baseball say that's a great player right there.
Yeah, well, here's my thing. People kind of get tripped up because, the WRC crowd or WRC plus crowd, they talk about how Volpe is a great player, right? They always say great when they're talking about Volpe. They'll say
they really?
Well, yeah, we just mentioned it yesterday. WRC plus is great. He's a great defender. Well, what about Jazz then? Why isn't he a great player? If Volpe's a great player, Jazz is an amazing player because Jazz is a better player than Anthony Volpe. No question about it. And obviously, we're going to talk about Volpe, who had an injury. So, obviously, I'm not hating on Volpe, but I see that often. And then I see a lot of criticism towards Jazz. And I see Volpe boot balls, but when Jazz does it, it's a bigger deal, I notice. So my thing here is that the Yankees have one hell of a baseball player that they acquired at the trade deadline. A time of year where oftentimes it's a rental. Oftentimes it's a guy that you may not regret because you're a Dodgers, but you traded for him and you ended up giving up a Yordan Alvarez, right? It's a guy that, in that moment you're like, yeah, that might come back to bite me, but it is what it is. Jazz Chisholm, and don't get me wrong, like Agustin Ramirez could still end up being very, very good, and he's not hitting poorly. But Jazz Chisholm felt like they knew it. Like, it truly felt like one of Cashman's more calculated moves where they're like, this guy's going to thrive in the Bronx. And when he does, we're going to look like freaking geniuses because he's going to be around for a long time. He's going to grow. Because everyone knew it was documented. He was being treated like garbage in Miami. I mean, it was documented because of the whole thing with, I already forgot his name, Rojas. And
they essentially made it seem like it was a discipline issue. This player, he doesn't take the game serious. He's loosey-goosey. He's pimping home runs and doing all types of different trots and celebrations. He's on the cover of MLB The Show, and he hit 230, right? Mm-hmm. He was voted most overrated player. And then the Yankees go and get him and say, be yourself. Let's get some confidence going. We know you had confidence, but understand we have confidence in you. So the last piece, it's not a matter of if Aaron Boone believes in this guy. It's not a matter of that. What it's going to be is whether or not Jazz has enough discipline to not fall in love with his tools. Having tools doesn't make you a great player. You look around baseball, you see guys like Joe Adell, right? You see a lot of these players, Byron Buxton, and they have the power. They've got the speed. They've got the contact. And then you look up and say, well, not a great player. You need to be able to put it together, not just have the talent. So that's the biggest thing for Jazz. Jazz, you obviously saw he went to the big part of the ballpark, final thing I'll say about him, it's easy to fall in love with that. How can you not? Everyone is just losing their minds. You can go to that part of the yard, steal 2 bags, and really shouldn't have been thrown out today. He obviously slid off the base and was tagged out. The call could have went either way, but Jazz is a speed guy who can do that.
Yeah, was that conclusive, by the way? Like, how are we overturning that?
Absolutely, it was not. It wasn't conclusive. And I do want to get to some of these super chats because, I mean, Jazz was great, but we want to get to this.
The short swing, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
That right there.
Did you love that?
I absolutely did because, we just love the game of baseball. And I'll be honest with you, the home run I was talking about, obviously loved it, right? And it was a really tough pitch. I was more impressed with the single because that he got screwed on a pitch and was kind of confused about where the strike zone was. And he even got into his older tendencies like, all right, what's going on here? But in the past, he would just whiff the one-handed, like just completely out of just a long swing that doesn't need to be a long swing on, when you're down in the count. And he shortened that swing. And Gary, I actually have the numbers here for you. It was 77.5 off the bat. And it was a 68.3 mile an hour swing, which means it was a shorter swing. And there's a reason why he did that. And I thought that was a great adjustment. And basically, he was expected to get a hit, 350 on that type of hit. He had a 350 expected batting average. So, yeah, I absolutely loved that. And I feel like that kind of gets, kind of bottled up a little bit because you have 106 off the bat on one of the singles and then you have 105 on another. That was big time. So I really like the way, he stepped up and put the ball in play, like you said. And I just think it's a sign that he's doing everything he can. He might not be your traditional baseball player. He shows up in, anime cleats and, he's vibrant.
As new school as it gets.
But
I mean, I tell you right now.
He still does old school shit, though. And that's what I like.
Yeah, he definitely does. And he's able to use his legs. Players today don't want to do that. They just don't. A lot of them don't really have the skill set. It's not like it's a bunch of guys as fast as Jazz Chisholm just saying, I don't want to steal. I want to play this brand of baseball. No, they're literally recruiting, drafting players. Guys in college, they're not trying to be Jazz Chisholm. They're not trying to be Pete Rose and sliding all over the field. No, guys are trying to take liftoff. What you saw Devers do today, people are trying to take one big swing, maybe a couple swings and change a game. And there's obviously 2 different ways you can play this game, but Jazz plays it an old school way. But obviously, I do want to mention the fact that Jazz saved the momentum of this game. We had essentially Buehler where we wanted him. Bellinger and Goldschmidt just didn't get the job done there and essentially getting runs across the board to start today. Jazz saves the day. You get a 3-run jack like that. It was the exact same situation. We saw Clark Schmidt in the other day. I text you right away, Jake, when I saw it. When you're down 3-0 to start a game, it changes the whole feeling of the game. Boston's offense sort of knew we need a crooked number or we have no chance. And it really buys you time. So, yeah, obviously a huge hit there. And Kyle with the super, thank you, Kyle, for the 2, says hopefully Volpe is okay. Now, for those of you who missed it, Volpe was drilled in the elbow on a pitch, and he stayed in the game for a bit. Eventually came out. It was diagnosed of a left elbow contusion. So he's currently getting scans done right now, and we'll see what comes of it. Obviously, we'll keep you guys up to date. We're not sure what's going to happen, but I think it's safe to say Volpe, and we never say this, he'll probably have the day off tomorrow. So
yeah,
you're likely to see someone young out there playing.
Nice 2-run shot, by the way, with 2 outs, hitting it opposite field. I want to give Volpe a lot of credit for that. I love that piece of hitting. And we've always talked about how he has kind of this deceptive pop. Deceptive if you're actually watching him, right? Because it's not deceptive for people that were saying that, like, they were like, oh, yeah, he's a 30 home run bat. Like, I don't think he's that. But he can shoot it out there. And both he and Jazz Chisholm are a big reason why the Yankees were able to really just kind of break open this game, put a lot of pressure on Buehler. I'm just going to say this. Both guys were on that World Series team. I just wish they did it then.
I know. Isn't it sad? I mean, we made Buehler look like I always say they make him look like Schilling. He looked great against us. I mean, it did help that he was pitching against Alex Verdugo, who really didn't do anything all year. But I guess the point, I love this super from Noble Demon Tim. Thank you for the 5. Says, glad to know Devin didn't melt down into a sucka tonight. Red Sox 6, Yankees 9. Nice. Yankees are blessed to have Ben Rice, who obviously the story, and we'll talk about it maybe a little later. We definitely will, actually. He didn't play today. So
why don't we just talk about it now?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah.
So, Tim, we really appreciate the super. Thank you for teeing us off because now we're off and running.
Yeah.
Ben Rice didn't play today. And you can argue, given the situation and Paul Goldschmidt being at first base or whoever it is that you want to play, there's clearly a rotation that's going on. And the Yankees have multiple options to play everywhere, right? One day it's Dominguez who can DH. The next day you see Rice. The next day you see Rice at first base. You know what? There's always someone we want to be playing that isn't playing. But I think the guy right now that most people would say, why is he playing over Ben Rice, given what's happening in recent times? I think it's Trent Grisham. And mind you, Trent Grisham's still getting on base at a decent clip. It's not great by any means. I'm not going to defend this decision. But they clearly like the defense in center, which I guess analytically it doesn't say it's that great. And yet, Ben Rice still isn't playing every day. So I'm not going to complain every time Ben Rice doesn't play, but was there a reason he didn't play today? Jake, I would love if you can give me some type of knowledge to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean, he's clearly not playing because they want Jason Dominguez back in the lineup, getting revved up as an everyday player because he was banged up. He missed some games. But I think it's time that we have a legitimate conversation about not just Trent Grisham leading off, Trent Grisham being an everyday starter. Like, we've seen guys get off to blistering paces in the past. Oswaldo Cabrera, Anthony Volpe last year, right? Well, I still say to this day, Oswaldo Cabrera was unfairly treated. He was hitting the crap out of the ball. OPS was almost 1,000. And then Boone sat him during that Blue Jays series 4 games in a row.
He was also young, so we didn't know if that was going to continue. Technically, it could have. Trent Grisham's career tells you that this is probably not going to continue long term. We're rooting for him.
Absolutely.
But to your point, when you bring up Cabrera, and I'm very happy you brought him up, this was a young player that we said, hold on, what do we have in this guy? The reason we said that was because there wasn't some 6 to 7 year career of poor performance. So here we stand with Trent Grisham, who was playing like Barry Bonds for about a month there. And then now his output isn't just doing this. It is now at the ocean's floor. But his overall numbers are still very good. That's how good he was. So do I think Boone's making a mistake by playing Trent Grisham every day? Yes. Do I think it's a mistake playing Trent Grisham at all? No, I don't. I think Trent Grisham definitely has earned the right to play, but my problem is how often he's playing.
Well, I mean, at this point, you're talking about a guy that's 13 home runs. He still has an OPS over 800. Totally understand why he would play.
Yes.
But should he play over Ben Rice? No. Because that's what is being decided. They're telling you Jason Dominguez is not leaving this lineup. They feel like they're essentially, okay, Ben Rice is older and he's more valuable, whether you agree with it or not. I'm not saying I agree with this, but I'm saying that I see it already. Jason Dominguez, they are banking on the fact he's 4 years younger than Ben Rice. They already feel like he's somewhat comparable, maybe not in the terms of how hard he hits the ball or power, but comparable in like the eye, works, counts, all of that. And they probably see it as he needs to play every day. And maybe in a way, and I hate to say this, but maybe in a way they're looking at it like Ben Rice is a really good baseball player, but if we were going to trade Jason Dominguez or Ben Rice tomorrow, it would be Rice. And that's kind of the vibe I get. I feel like they're banking on the upside of Jason Dominguez, which actually is an issue I have with the Yankees as a whole. I feel like they do this often, where they can't just have both. Now they're letting a 28-year-old Trent Grisham, who's been the same player his whole career just about, they're now letting him dictate what's going on. And look, Jason Dominguez has a long way to go in the field, okay? He has got eighth percentile fielding run value. But let's not act like Trent Grisham is great at fielding right now. He's 48th, below average. So it's not like he's this crazy defense. If you were talking Cody Bellinger plus his bat, I could understand it. Right now, the way Grisham's struggling, he should not be an everyday player. And I think that's definitely fair to say.
Though. So you bring up Dominguez. I personally would rather see Ben Rice play today than Jason Dominguez. And mind you, this isn't me telling you Jason Dominguez should be on the bench and then Ben Rice should be out there.
Yeah.
No, I think both guys should be playing. But if there was a pecking order, I'm much more comfortable watching Ben Rice be in the batter's box. I just am. If someone told me tomorrow Jason Dominguez is hitting 2, I would say, oh, that's interesting. I mean, I guess that's them trying to put some confidence into him. I can see where they're trying to go with it. But if I saw Ben Rice hitting 2 tomorrow, my first decision would say, oh, nice. That's exactly who I would want there in that top 3. Already, this is not like some developmental confidence-boosting decision. This is a player. The analytics show he's giving us output. His ops is high, right? His batting average is fine. He's still hitting 250 plus.
Yeah.
The power numbers are there. The balls are still going into the seats. It shows he's hit into a lot of poor luck. And we had a whole long conversation about it yesterday. Jason Dominguez doesn't have poor luck. That hasn't been a conversation. He just has very high peaks and very low lows. And his numbers are still fine overall. And he plays because he's our top prospect. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what Boone's doing in center field. I'm not going to get nitpicky with it because obviously most of what we're doing, we have a healthy lead in the division. But there are some conversations that need to be had. Like people were texting me today about whether or not Trent Grisham should be leading off. I've always said I'm not going to argue about where players are hitting anymore. I think I'm done with that. I just want the best players to play every day. And I'm just not certain that we have enough good players for me to say that Ben Rice isn't in our top 9 every day. He is an everyday player. And then when he plays himself off the field, then we'll find somebody else who can do that job. But as of now, Ben Rice hasn't done anything to lose playing time.
No, I agree with that. And I mean, I want to be honest here, for Boone's sake. I do get why it's easy to get I guess talked into Grisham. So his first 35 games of the year, he's hitting 294, 374 on base, 651 slugging, over 1,000 OPS. He's got 12 homers, 22 RBIs, 32 hits, 23 runs, right? Really good numbers. But then you go into, game 36 to now. Okay? And I don't have today's, but I'll,
it'll be good enough. It'll suffice.
Yeah, it'll be close enough. So 36 to now, he's hitting, and this is 19 games. The last 19 games when he started having the kind of downfall. He has 1 home run. He has 4 RBIs. He's hitting 511 OPS, a 149 batting average, a 288 on base percentage, a 224 slugging. He is absolutely non-existent right now. He has 10 hits in his last 80 plate appearances. 10. So I feel like I understand you can sit there and you can be like, well, I've seen this player, and keep in mind, Boone already kind of said what he wanted to say in that, yeah, I should have played him more last year. This could have happened last year if I played him more. But now Grisham is starting to really regress to being the mean in his career. And what is he? Pretty much a 220 hitter for his career.
So and we're still scoring, by the way. We're still, and he's still somewhat getting on base. I think he got on base twice yesterday. He got on base again today, maybe twice. But I guess the point is, there's not necessarily a reason that he plays and he's a pencil in. He's not a pencil in anymore. And mind you, all of us were saying Trent, Grisham, Bonds, we were having fun with that storyline. He was giving us an output. It was an outlier. It was. That's exactly how you would describe it. It's an outlier. And the whole point of calling something an outlier is the new norm. You cannot call it a norm. You can't. You can't build new expectations for a player. If a player's career does this, right? Which is still a big leaguer, still productive in some way or shape or form. And then all of a sudden you get this. Your expectations are now this? Why would it be that? Now, mind you, Aaron Boone came into this season and said, the one difference coming into this year, I want to put some more confidence into this player in Trent Grisham. I have no problem with that. But where I would have a problem with it is you've got a player slated at the top of your lineup. You said you wanted to play him. Now he's your leadoff hitter for 30-some games. He went from here back to his career numbers, hitting 200, right?
Yeah.
Occasionally he'll leave the ballpark, and you mentioned he hit 1 homer, right, in 19 games. So he's just not worth having where we've got him. That doesn't mean a player sucks. It doesn't mean that we're picking on him. He's showing us what his career numbers are and why they are what they are. So maybe you use this as an opportunity to promote somebody to that spot. Maybe a Ben Rice is your leadoff hitter. I don't know. I personally would love to see it. Maybe you put some confidence into Jazz Chisholm. Given the new style of how he's playing, give him a chance to hit leadoff. I would love to see Jazz promoted to the leadoff position. I don't know. I think Boone has some options here. I would love to hear what our chat has to say about it, but we've got some choices.
Yeah, I feel like Goldschmidt is definitely the guy I would roll with as the leadoff hitter.
That's fair.
But Jazz is interesting. I like Bellinger if you're going up against a righty and you don't want Goldschmidt leading off. I kind of like Bellinger for that. I mean, really, Bellinger is a leadoff hitter when you look at what you need to be a leadoff hitter. You know who else is? Jason Dominguez, a guy that can work
like
counts.
Boone, though. Do you remember how Boone has described Goldschmidt and Bellinger? Always out of his mouth is situational hitting.
Yep.
Well, the time where situational hitting is probably not as important is your leadoff hitter. There really isn't a situation. You're, by definition, a table setter. But when Cody Bellinger and Goldschmidt are maybe hitting third, fourth, or fifth, they tend to come up with runners on base, some traffic, maybe a guy at second base less than 2 outs where Bellinger has to put a ball in play and advance the runner. And we benefit from that in many ways. So I agree with the chat. I think I've seen a couple people already mention Goldschmidt, and you actually read the numbers and brought them up about Goldschmidt's numbers at the leadoff position. They were great.
Yeah.
So in this moment, I probably just look at Goldschmidt. It seems like he's kind of floating around in this lineup. Like Boone doesn't know where to put him. I think leadoff is that position. And if you want to play Trent Grisham, that's fine. But he should be slotted 7, 8, or 9 in your lineup and maybe playing a tick less.
Yeah, and again, Judge should always be hitting third. Always.
Yeah, probably.
I wouldn't mind if they went Goldschmidt leadoff. Bellinger hits second. Judge hits third. So now you have righty, lefty, righty. Jazz hits cleanup, right? And then maybe, well, you know what? I still like Ben Rice cleanup. I think that's my kind of go-to. And then I understand if you want to keep going righty, lefty, whatever.
Are you concerned with Ben Rice? So you mentioned Ben Rice's cleanup. I don't have a problem with the production. Obviously, he drives and runs. He leaves the ballpark. The one concern I do have about Ben Rice, and this is why I've considered either putting him in the 2 spot or leadoff.
Well, actually, I'd put him in the 2 spot and put Bellinger clean.
Because he puts the ball on the ground maybe a little bit more than I'm comfortable with. And when you've got multiple guys on base, you've created traffic. You've created an opportunity for your offense. The last thing I want to see is a player, even if you hit the ball 105, 110, exit velocity is all there, I don't want it on the ground. And I think that's the next step for Ben Rice is sort of mastering launch angle. And I hate to get into analytics, but when he does that, you're going to see a different monster. But right now, Ben Rice does put the ball on the ground a lot. So
yeah,
maybe that 2 spot.
I like the 2 spot. Yeah, no, I got them kind of confused. Yeah, I like Belly fourth.
Love that. Yeah.
I don't really care about lefty righty because I think Chisholm is the best 5 hitter on the team. Like,
I'd say that's fair. He is. I mean, he could hit anywhere now if he's gonna play this way, which is what we're hoping for. And obviously, Ed W with the super. Ed, thank you for the 5 and supporting this channel. Says seen Jazz live now all week, and he's talking about his swing here. His swing looks like he's gone catching the ball, very reminiscent of Barry Bonds. Always says is the hack to hitting 100 plus. So I've watched that video of Barry, and I think most of us have seen it. I don't know how you couldn't. They bring it up on MLB Network all the time. And he mentions he essentially, if the catcher can catch a fastball in any pitch that's thrown with his glove, all I did was change the object and I catch it with my bat. If you watch, to Ed's point, if you watch Jazz hit now versus watching him hit 3 weeks ago before the injury, Jazz was essentially taking a rip, right? And it looked like he was running into the ball. And when he did, it was damage. But when he didn't, and it was often that he didn't, we got nothing. It was boomer bust mentality. You can see exactly what he was attempting to do. He was trying to catch something, right? And not catch it like Barry. He literally was trying to run into something. Well, now it looks like Jazz is trying to do less. The swing is not nearly as violent. And it seems like the ball doesn't know. The ball just seems to jump off the barrel, and that's exactly what the Yankees brass was talking about. And I saw it in the chat of what Jazz was doing down at the minor league level. They said it just looks different. Something about it is different. They weren't talking about exit velocity. They weren't talking about power, raw power, any of it. They were talking about him staying on the ball and, to Ed's point, catching the ball with his barrel. And right now, I mentioned, I think yesterday, Cody Bellinger is just, he's not a baseball savant dream. Jazz Chisholm doesn't have to chase savant numbers either. The type of player he is, just create action. If he can do that, the Yankees are going to win so many more games than they would without a player like this, just playing ugly, right? Get on base, run out an infield single, steal a couple bags, steal a run. Jazz Chisholm, this is the player the Marlins were hoping for. And unfortunately for the Marlins, they are the Marlins, and they don't get this out of players. The Yankees right now are. So I'm looking forward to it. This is going to be a challenge of whether or not Jazz can keep this up. Maybe not performing, getting 3 hits every night. We know that's not it. But trying to do what he did today just by being an all-around baseball player.
Yeah, I see there's some hate on Wells. I'm not going to hate on Wells after he just went 2 for 4. Find another night. Like, it's just...
We do as podcasters, I mean, we have to read the room at some point. And I don't mean like this room specifically, but when a player does have 2 knocks, it's just not, it's not your time. It's not your time to criticize. So just like if you want to criticize dropping your hands for Anthony Volpe, something we talked about literally yesterday, we sure as hell wouldn't bring it up today when he left the yard. No. So it just doesn't work that way. So
no, and I hope Volpe's okay, because that dude. Have you ever been hit on the elbow?
Yeah, actually, the final pitch of my college career, right, I got drilled in the elbow. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I swear to you. Drilled in the elbow. I think we had like 2 or 3 games left. Drilled in the elbow. My elbow swelled up like a grapefruit. Never played again. Yeah.
Man,
it was brutal.
It hurts. I got hit in the funny bone once, like the hardest throw in the league, and it was just like it was like ringing, bro. It just
little bit of an update here. Jake says, well, not this Jake, but that
that's
Jake
a little confusing.
Says Volpe is fine from what I saw. All scans came back negative, so I didn't see those scans, but obviously, if this is accurate, that's great. I assumed it would be negative. I mean, but. Contusion, you would expect him to be out. He'll probably be out for the remainder of this Boston series and then be back and up and running. And luckily for us, we may not need him in this Boston series. This Boston team is not good.
What's funny is that's actually a positive that he has a negative result.
Yeah. I hate that that's the terminology.
I don't like it either because I'm like, x-rays are negative. Wait, like, is it a negative, like, thing? Like, are you going to give me a negative? Are you giving me negative news or positive news?
Yeah, the doctor's like, hey, and can we get a scan on my UCL? And he just looks at you and he's like,
negative.
Oh
my God! All right, you did it. You caused this. Now I have to do it. Did you ever watch Arrested Development?
No.
Oh my God! There's this one doctor in Arrested Development where they're like, every time you're already about to laugh.
Oh, is it when he comes out to the lobby? And tells the people? I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like he's I forget exactly the word usage, but he's always like he didn't make it. Or no, he's all right. And they're like, what? It's like, yeah, he doesn't have a left hand anymore, so he's all right. And they're like, I'm going to kill this doctor.
Yeah,
like,
I do. I have
time,
seen that.
Every
but yeah,
time.
So it is
So
good
funny.
news. X-rays are negative on Volpe. They called it a contusion. Players don't just usually play the next day. We're not doctors.
Yeah.
Clearly, we're podcasters. But
You don't
I
want
don't
me
see
being a
many
doctor.
players that leave a game like they were hurt and injured and swelled up enough to not be able to continue playing, be diagnosed with a contusion, and then play the next day. At the very least, he's not playing tomorrow. But will he play again this series? Doubtful. And there's another aspect of this before we move on here. Our division lead is also going to dictate what Boone has to do. And I've mentioned, Jake, players play through injuries all the time. It's always happened in all of history, especially in this sport. Maybe it happens a little bit less now than it did before. But yeah, when you're nursing a 5.5 game lead in the division over Tampa, a team that no one's worried about running us down. Boston was the team, again, we mentioned. They're probably the threat. They're back 10.5 games. They're probably sellers. I know the Padres are calling them right now, and Duran kind of goes to show you what's going on in Boston.
Yeah.
Well, those developments are also going to determine how much the Yankees try and force Volpe back to the field, as fast as possible, I guess. So, all good things. We have leverage here.
Don't look now, but the Orioles have won 6 straight. They're trying to win their 7th game tonight in a row.
Are they in the rearview mirror yet, or are they still like 12.5 back?
They're 13.5 back, but
This is perfect because I don't want them to get a good pick. I want them to win as many games as possible.
I'm with you.
They're not catching us.
I don't like the idea. I mean, we've already talked about this ad nauseum, but I don't like the idea of them they just always get like a really good pick, and like that was their entire method of building their roster. Like, I don't really respect that. I think that's like lame. Just me. But kind of looking at another hitter, because we were talking about hitters, Aaron Judge is what he's doing. And I feel like the problem, he's too good that we almost don't talk about him for like half of our podcast because it's so obvious how good he is. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that's kind of something that is crazy. He went 3 for 5 today. And we had not mentioned him until the 37-minute mark. Had not mentioned Aaron Judge.
How many other Yankees podcasts, by the way, do you think just fired up? They're like, welcome back. The Yankees win 9-6. Aaron Judge with another 3 knocks, and then talked about him for 20 minutes. Like, it's not the style of our podcast. I think that's a large part of it. But I don't know how many people wanted to turn on a Yankees podcast tonight and then just listen to about Aaron Judge, who gets a hit every day.
This is every day. Yeah, this is why people complain about ESPN's coverage of baseball, because they'll just talk, oh, Aaron Judge. Okay, well, what did Jazz do? What did Will Warren do?
It's not in depth the way it used to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and so when we decided to do this, we knew we wanted to go under the hood. We're not just, oh, yeah, the car is red. No, we're literally going under the hood of the car. Yeah, the engine's not great. That's what we're doing, essentially. And I like the way we do it, but at the same time, I don't want it to go by the wayside. Aaron Judge is the best player in baseball. Shocker. 48th game out of 62 on the year where Judge has reached base twice. That is utterly insane. Think about that. He's reached base twice in 48 out of the 62 games that they've played.
Yeah, the broadcast actually brought up today. They said, well, it was actually Michael Kay, and he said, we saw last week that batting average dipped down to 390, and you kind of figured, okay, well, the 400 dream, it's no big deal. It's not going to happen regardless. But he's hitting 390. It's just not going to be. And then you look up, he has another hot streak, and he's right back up to 397. It's like, there is no other player that's even sniffing this. They're not. There's no other offensive talent. And the only other way that people can say, oh, this is another better baseball player, a guy has to essentially be an ace in a rotation in Ohtani, which, by the way, he still hasn't returned to a mound. So he's got to return to a mound, be a Hall of Fame hitter in the process, and then be at the top of a rotation in order for people to say, yeah, that player is better than this player. That's how good Aaron Judge is at hitting. It's dumb. It really is. And
it's
at
so
this
stupid.
point, he's the best hitter of the generation. He's the best hitter of the last I think probably since Albert Pujols, right? Barry Bonds.
He's the best hitter I've seen
that.
since Barry Bonds.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this. I don't even know what's going on.
Trout could have been this, but the injuries hurt him. But anybody that thinks Trout's not a Hall of Famer because of the injuries, well, they can kick rocks. He's a Hall of Famer. But Trout was on that pace, Gary. He was.
Yeah, high average, pop, great defender. I mean, the robbing the home runs was sick. Yeah, Mike Trout was obviously...
Well, he was a 5-tool player, and actually, like, when people talk about generational 5-tool players, I'm not saying he was generational. We've seen guys like Mike Trout before, but, bro.
Is it fair to say, by the way, I have a question for you. Because
Yes.
this is just my own opinion. People may hate this. They may. But when I look at a player like Mike Trout, right, all he was doing for the Angels, and this doesn't just apply to Trout himself, but also Ohtani when he was playing with the Angels. I think there's something to be said for putting up the type of numbers that Judge is putting up while being on a contender. And I don't mean having players hitting around you that are protecting you. I mean hitting in pressure situations, right? I mean having expectations going into October. I mean going into August and you're down 2 or 3 games in the division and you have to perform to get your team into a postseason run. I think there's something to be said for putting up monster numbers the way that Judge does consistently when his team needs him to perform. Yeah. And obviously, when I look at a lot of players, like even Ohtani when he was playing for the Angels, yeah, you're hitting 40, 50 homers, but it's 9-4 in the 6th inning, and you hit a jack that no one saw. Nobody saw it.
Yeah, no one.
And obviously, now Ohtani is with the Dodgers, and he's in pressure situations. He just hit a game winner the other day. So now he's involved in that conversation. But Judge is also in tight games all the time. He's in important games all the time. Games a lot of people are watching. So I hope you guys enjoy this because Judge is, I believe, did we say he was 32?
33.
He's 33 years old. You have to imagine 4 or 5 years from now, Aaron Judge won't be in his prime any longer. You're not going to see, you can look across baseball, anywhere you'd like to look, you're not going to see a player hitting at this level. Now, maybe, I guess we'll be surprised. You never know what we'll find. But highly unlikely you see a player playing at this level, and he just so happens to be on the team of your favorite podcast.
Yeah, it's... I feel like I'm already seasoned in appreciation of a once-in-a-lifetime player because I watched Aaron Donald for years. Although he ended up retiring early. Like, this dude could still play. I don't know if you saw his workout with Jared Verse. That like everybody, it was like ESPN First Take was arguing like who was stronger. It was the weirdest thing ever. But Aaron Donald was so much better than everyone else. It was unreal. Anytime somebody tried to compare, it was like, you don't understand. He's a defensive tackle putting up like rusher numbers, like just edge rusher numbers. And that's how I feel with Judge. And it's like, there just so happens to be 2 versions of that. Like, because with what Ohtani can do, because I'm not going to discount Ohtani. And I feel like in a lot of sense, it's different. But in a way, it's like Tom Brady being in the same league as Aaron Donald. I think Aaron Donald was better than Tom Brady, right? Like better, like as
like
in,
at his respected position, I see.
Yeah, he just like there's never been anybody more dominant that I've ever seen in my life. Okay, like Wayne Gretzky level dominant. I don't know, maybe it's the 99, but
maybe.
But when you look at like Ohtani and Judge, like I genuinely don't think Ohtani is a better hitter than Judge. I don't think Ohtani is ever going to be a better hitter than Judge. I don't.
Well, there's no player that's there's no player other than Barry Bonds that's hitting at this level. He's in a sport, by the way, when Barry was hitting what he was hitting, which was cartoonish, it was fake almost. Other players in the sport were hitting 340. Other players in the sport were hitting 330, right? You're watching players routinely do that, especially in that era. Look at Aaron Judge, the numbers he's putting up, and then now compare that to the median. That's what people never talk about. They just compare numbers to numbers. They look at, well, Judge is hitting 398. He's on pace to hit almost 60 home runs, driving 140, 150. Okay, all that's great. And then they compare it to those exact numbers from 1999. I don't think that's right. I don't think it is at all. The average player in today's game hits 240. It's not just because these players aren't as good. It's also because players are throwing 100. Guys are throwing nastier pitches. just better game plans in general. So the game eventually evolves, and Aaron Judge is just, I guess it's like Dragon Ball Z. He's as advanced as it gets. So for me, by the way, part of the reason
Aaron Judge is Dragon Ball Z. That's just
he is. Part of the reason why Aaron Judge isn't celebrated as much as he, I guess you can say, should be, or as much as maybe you'd like him to be. Well, he hasn't gotten that ring yet. He hasn't put that signature performance out there, that 09 A-Rod performance that we've talked about in October. He has to have that. And without that, it'll always be, yeah, he's the best player in the regular season, but, right? It was like watching LeBron James in 2011, 2012. Before he had won anything, it's like, yeah, he's the best player in the world, but when we get to the finals, it's not going to be the same. And that is the judgment essentially on this guy. So I hope this changes for Aaron Judge. I hope we're looking at World Series champions a couple months, a few months from now. I hope that happens because baseball around the league, people aren't going to celebrate this guy the way you want to until he shows he can do it when it really matters. And that's what we're all waiting for. I know all of our audience is waiting for that to happen.
Oh, yeah. I still always get a kick out of the fact Aaron Judge had a higher WAR than Ohtani did, even when Ohtani was pitching. Like, I feel like that does not get talked about nearly enough. But yeah, I look at Aaron Judge and yeah, I just think he is just incredibly special, and you just got to enjoy him. It's the same thing how I felt about Donald. I'm sure how people felt about Wayne Gretzky. Although back in the day, people appreciated more. They didn't debate all day about who's better.
I don't even think I'm appreciating it, to be honest with you. Like, do I love it? Do I recognize what's happening? I mean, sure. But it does feel like every time Aaron Judge just stands up to the plate, if he doesn't get a hit, you're like, what just happened there? But you forget how hard the game is. He makes it look really easy. He just does.
This is his season. I mean, I need people to understand right now, okay? He has the highest OPS of his career right now.
What is it at? Is it almost 1,300?
It's literally approaching 1,300. It was 1,100 last year. It was 1,000 the year before that. Again, another thing that I always find funny. People have no idea what type of season he was going to have in 2023 before he got hurt. He had 37 home runs in 106 games. Also, he got hurt. He came back and he hit 58 home runs and 144 RBIs. And he hit 322. So, like, this dude is insane. And also, there have been reports that, like, he has actually taken a lot of advice from NFL players. Like, how do you stay healthy in such a dangerous sport? I'm having a hard time. This is the thing. Great players, like the best of the best, they don't just half-ass anything. They don't just go out there and, like...
They're like, my advice is don't go diving into Dodger Stadium walls.
Yeah.
Right?
Until they replace that gate or whatever. Why they had a gate in the outfield is beyond me. But
yeah, I know. It seems like Judge, by the way, has had like 10 balls right at the wall. And
I know.
Seems like he's learned his lesson. He's not just diving into the wall. And obviously, he's not intending on running into the wall. But you can tell it's on his mind, and that's a good thing. You want someone to have learned from their mistakes. And I grew up watching Ken Griffey Jr. He was not learning from that mistake. Ken Griffey Jr. was just diving straight into the wall.
Yeah, he just no regard.
And no I understand. No. And everyone made it seem, well, I mean, you're playing hard, and that's good. But I've long said the best ability is availability. If you dive into a wall and you're gone for the next 90 games, how valuable are you? You're just not. So Aaron Judge understands, I need to understand, I'll play my position, I'll make all the throws I need to make, I need to get good jumps. But if I'm going to take a risk, and you saw a play today with Trent Grisham where Trent didn't even call the ball till I think literally the ball was 3 feet from his glove, and he's almost colliding with the best player of this generation. Those are plays that obviously need to be cleaned up. So glad nothing happened there. But long story short here, Aaron Judge, best player of the generation, best bat we've seen in 20 years. And the best part about it, it seems like Brian Cashman landed on his feet. You lose Juan Soto. He's made a lot of quality moves to help put something around Aaron Judge to where you look at a lineup that's scoring a lot of runs. So, and it's a matter of really now of getting to that finish line. And I think that finish line is going to come in the rotation. I see a lot of guys that are serviceable regular season guys, right? Warren, Yarborough. But the Yankees do have 2 guys that they're going to go into a postseason run where they're comfortable pitching in a high-stakes game. They probably need at least one more. It'll be interesting to see what Cashman does or what our chat would like to say about it, because I know that Freddie Peralta has been a topic. But, Jake, you texted me earlier today and said that the Brewers inexplicably are now starting to win games. Like, does that mean they're not going to sell? No, it doesn't mean that. We've seen crazier things.
Cardinals do this shit, man. They always do this shit when you count them out. Like,
this
now
is why
they're 34 and 30. 34 and 30. They were like 12 games below 500
right
at one point.
It. This is why it's hard to look at the trade market this early, because obviously we've now realized we're going to be absolutely up. We should win the division. The Yankees have a lot of business to take care of. But when you go into the deadline, most of us are going to say, I don't think we're good enough to win a World Series, but what can we do at the deadline to make that happen? Well, a lot of the players that we've said we want to trade for, the Peraltas, right? Some guys off the St. Louis Cardinals, well, those teams have got to start losing games. And so when you start looking this early, it gets disappointing. And obviously the big news, I do want to deliver this before we get to our Profit X picks, was Corbin Burns out of Arizona.
Yeah.
Torn UCL.
I feel
going to get Tommy John surgery. Brutal news. I think it was the first year of a 6-year just monster contract out there in the desert. Not the way you want to start that contract, obviously, but the most important thing is now Arizona is, first and foremost, they weren't winning games. I know they had a monster comeback against the Braves last night, but you have to imagine Arizona is probably on that list now of sellers. We talked about that yesterday. So it's Pickens now. It's now time to look at that roster and say, is it Merrill Kelly
over there?
It's George Pickens over there. Are we going to go over there and maybe Merrill Kelly, right? Zach Gallen is an option. Some of these guys aren't having some of the best years, so it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they do with obviously Matt Blake and company.
Yeah, I think I would prefer, out of all those guys, I think I would prefer Zach Gallen. I like him more than Merrill Kelly. I know Kelly's having a better year, but there is a level of getting a rental where, and it didn't work with Soto, and maybe it almost did, who knows, but the idea that I can bring in Zach Gallen and maybe kind of, get him going and also feel really good about his new location with the Yankees. First time he's been at anywhere else, really. Yeah, and what I mean by that is first time like actually pitching. He's pretty much pitched his whole career for the Diamondbacks. So him going to Yankee Stadium, him going to the Yankees, I could talk him into kind of, maybe it's more likely I could get him to re-sign. You see what I'm saying? I feel like that was kind of their approach with Jazz Chisholm. Like obviously they had control and whatnot, but they felt like they could get this guy, he hasn't been treated fairly, whatever. He can come to the Yankees. He's going to do well here. He'll thrive. That is not always what, teams are trying to do when they trade at the deadline. But I do think teams think that far ahead. I think that's definitely a real possibility. And think about it. Zach Gallen right now, his season is very disappointing, right? He's not going to get paid unless he does start killing it. And if he went to Matt Blake and the Yankees and he helped lead them to, say, a World Series and they won the World Series, I think now he's going to feel really like indebted almost to the Yankees. And now I'm not saying he'll take a hometown discount, but if a tiebreaker's between the Yankees offering the same amount of another team, he's going to choose the Yankees in all likelihood.
That's fair. I mean, you saw with Jack Flaherty, right?
Yeah.
With the Dodgers. You see it with other arms. If you're going to be a part, Walker Buehler, same deal. Walker Buehler was off UCL surgery, had a horrible year last year. Eventually finds his way right at the last second heading into October ball, goes into the postseason, pitches decent, right? He wasn't great, but down the stretch in some of the biggest games of the year, he was big time. Then all of a sudden, Boston thinks, oh yeah, we're getting this great player. We're going to get that version that the Dodgers got in the World Series. That's what teams think. So some of these players are probably praying, I hope the Yankees trade for me. They know who we've got. They know that Matt Blake exists. They see what's going on with Will Warren and all the projects and, oh, he's working on this sweeper. And most people saying, that's Will Warren. I'm not worried about his sweeper. Then all of a sudden you look up a month and a half later and it's the best sweeper in the game. So
yeah,
we're doing something. I'm not saying it's everything. I'm not saying we're some factory for pitching, and you may be able to have that conversation. But the point is, some of these pitchers, you can look at their numbers, expect better numbers when they play for the Yankees. It's the Sonny Gray numbers with Larry Rothschild. Those days are over.
No, I absolutely agree. And I mean, would Sonny Gray have done something with Matt Blake? 100%. I have no doubt. But that's neither here nor there. I do think, though, anybody would want to go to the Yankees right now. They're the second best team in the league, according to win-loss. I don't know if you realize that. Philly started losing a little bit. The Mets started losing. The Dodgers lost. So who's number one right now? The Tigers. And I've held firm on this. I don't think the Tigers are that good. I think they're a good baseball team. I do not think they would beat the Yankees in a series. Now I know that
they've still given not worried about their offense.
No, I'm just not worried about the Tigers. I understand they gave the Yankees issues. There were a lot of weird stuff, though, with that series. If you remember, they were worried about snow, so they changed the time, and it started way earlier in the day. Like, stuff like that. I have a lot of respect for the Tigers. I don't think that they would beat the Yankees in a 7-game series in the ALCS, right? I just don't. I think the Yankees are a better team. I think they're better than the last time they played the Tigers. I do. I think it'd be a fun series, but I think the Yankees are a better team. I still say to this day, the Yankees, to me, the only team that I actually worry about is the Dodgers. I think they can beat anybody in a 7-game series. And I'm not sitting here saying this is a generational Yankee team. I'm not sitting here saying they could beat the 98 team. I'm not saying they could beat 04. I'm not saying they could beat 09. But I am saying in this league, as it stands right now, I look across the league and knowing that they're probably going to make a move or two at the deadline. They don't even have to, in my opinion, to be the second best team behind the Dodgers. But I really do believe, Gary, that when you look, I think they could beat any team. They beat the Padres in a 3-game set. They beat the Mets. Like, the NL, we're always told, is so much better than the AL, and I do agree. But the Yankees have only struggled against one NL team, and that is the Dodgers. And that is why, while I think it's still possible to beat the Dodgers in a 7-game series, because you never know how it's going to go, you have to actually play the games. That is the one team where I'd be like, because I think if the Yankees played the Mets, I'm already preparing. Obviously, I need to see it, but I'm already preparing myself. Wow, this is going to be the year they win it all. This is going to be the year they finally do it. Going up against the Cubs, going up against the Padres, I'm serious. But the Dodgers, I'd be like, all right, let's slow down a little bit. They really need to win this. I'm not feeling good. I'll probably pick the Dodgers, but I hope that they prove me wrong. That's how I go into it.
Yeah, that's totally understandable. I hate the coverage. I really do. And I don't mean your coverage. I mean the coverage that Tigers fans or any fan of they're like, hey, the Tigers have the best record. Don't sleep on the Tigers. The Tigers can beat you. It's like, yeah, I recognize that any team in the postseason can beat us. Mm-hmm. That's something I've always been willing to acknowledge. Absolutely. There's a reason we play the games. You don't just show up and then just throw your glove on the field and say, all right, guys, good luck. See ya. That's not the way it works. So I get this. But if I came into a series with the Tigers, am I saying the Tigers have a better opportunity to go to the World Series than we do if we walked into a championship series? No. Can the Tigers beat us? Yeah. They probably do have the staff to do it. They can pitch with anybody. I've watched it. I'm not only watching Yankees games. I see plenty of other teams. And I watch these games. I see what Skubal's doing. I saw the 103-mile-an-hour pitch to end a complete game shutout. I watched that, right? There's no other player in baseball who's doing that. So do they deserve respect? Absolutely. But coming into a postseason series, the Yankees have to feel like we're going to build the best team we can possible. We're going to have the advantage against every single team in baseball. The team we do not have an advantage of, and we definitely don't have a psychological advantage, is against the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's the team. And people can take it as yielding. They can take it as being weak. No, sometimes it's just being realistic. Do you have a better roster than this team? That's what dictates this. And you look at the head-to-head numbers, and if you don't have better head-to-head numbers than they've got against you, you cannot possibly call yourself a favorite coming into that series. So that's the reality for the Yankees. The Yankees have to feel like we should be able to blow the doors off of everybody until we get to a championship series with the Detroit Tigers. And you go out there, it's going to be a dogfight. You have to believe you're the better team. And are the pickups you made at the deadline enough to make a fight against the Dodgers in the World Series? Now, a lot of baseball to be played. It very well could be we just lose in the division series and we don't have to worry about it, I guess. But I guess if all things go the way they should, the Yankees should be faced off with the Tigers. It's going to be a dogfight, and then we go see the Dodgers. So I don't know. Scott Ross with the 5. Thank you, Scott. We always appreciate it. Scott. And I didn't know this. This is actually a complete learning experience for me. I didn't know this at all. It says Yarborough versus Crochet twice in the next week.
What?
If he wins those games, my man is truly the giant killer. Great job as always, fellas. So Crochet is pitching great this year. He's been excellent. And Ryan Yarborough is he's just in over his skis. We have no idea what's going on.
When do you see that? When do you ever see the same matchup twice?
Is that true?
It's exactly true. Friday the 13th. The question is, what's Friday the 13th? Is it going to be Friday the 13th for the Yankees or the Red Sox? Are we going to get some good luck out of it or bad luck? Like, how's that going to work? But yeah, no, it is true that Yarborough misses the Kansas City trip, right?
Okay.
And then they go to Boston and he pitches the first game of a 3-game set against Crochet.
It's always so funny, though, when people say Yarborough versus Crochet, and then obviously if we go 2-0, let's just say in those games, they view it as Yarborough versus Crochet. But in actuality, it's Yarborough versus the Red Sox, who stink.
Yeah, that's true.
Stink. This Red Sox team is horrible. And how often do you guys see, other than when I'm talking about like the Orioles and some of the worst teams in baseball, Colorado, where I talk about a team this way? Boston was supposed to be a contender. They're now entertaining the idea of trading Duran to the Padres. They're actually talking about this. Do you realize how ridiculous this is? That's how bad they're playing. A player that they gave $300+ million to, they don't even feel comfortable putting him at third base where he desperately wants to play. After signing Bregman, who got hurt, still won't play him at third base, and he refuses to play first base either. And then David Ortiz is out here saying, leave him alone, leave him at DH. What are we talking about? So this isn't really Yarborough versus Crochet. This is Crochet and what's he going to do with this Yankees lineup. I'm interested to see because it's a great test for this offense. And obviously, we're doing a lot more damage. I saw somebody in the chat bring up Anthony Volpe's ops against left-handed pitching. Yeah, I want to see what Anthony Volpe looks like in those two matchups. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I feel like now I just have to keep doubting Yarborough so it keeps going up, though. Like, you know what I mean? He keeps doing his thing. Because as soon as I see this in the comment section, Bernie, I get you. I totally understand you. But as soon as I do that, he is going to get shelled. He'll
give up 7 in one inning, and you're just going to be devastated.
Folded. And I don't want to be the reason for that. So I'm totally kidding, of course. There's no such thing as jinxing. No matter what anyone says, jinxing is not real.
They're like, I knew it. I knew that was going to happen. I'm like, no, you were just anxious about it all day. And it finally came true because you said it 6 starts in a row. One of the starts it did. You didn't predict anything. That happens all the time in sports. So
yeah, the whole jinxing, do you think like God himself was like, oh, Jake Ellenbogen said Volpe was going to have a good day, and then he had him strike out 5 times? Do you think like God took over the wheel when the ball was going towards Volpe and he just had to go all like that? And it's just like, what do you think happened? I have no connection to what's going on in the Bronx.
There was a whole plan for Carlos Carrasco to like be serviceable, have a quality start, and then some random podcaster hopped on the air and was like, yeah, I'm putting him in the circle of trust, and he's like, never mind.
Yeah, it's the same thing like fantasy football. And people are like, I had him in my lineup, but of course he didn't score a touchdown. It's like, oh, so you think C.J. Stroud purposely didn't throw to his best receiver because John from Six Flags had him in his line? Like, you know what I mean?
You're just not good at fantasy football. That's the deal. You're not good at it, which I'm not either. I'm horrible at fantasy football.
You've always been honest about that one.
I'm the worst fantasy football player you've ever seen, ever, by anybody. If I take a kicker, he tears his ACL. It's bad. And mind you, again, I don't believe in jinxing. I just don't do enough homework to make the proper decisions. So, yeah, jinxing
funny.
Does not exist.
It's so funny.
Just understand idea. Yarbrough's been great for us overall. Let's ride this wave. There's a ton of value in what he's doing. So if he has success against his Boston these next 2 starts, well, I mean, didn't we already get what we paid for?
Are we riding it right away with the 4.5?
Absolutely. Go ahead and click it. It's not even a decision.
Give me that. Of course, that's not up yet. It's just as a request. So, tomorrow, definitely going to go with the over on that one. I like Yarbrough for sure against the Red Sox.
I want to throw this up on the screen because it's the most nonsensical thing I've ever seen, maybe in the last 30 days of doing this podcast.
I don't even know what that is saying.
Yeah, I don't either. But Jeremy with the chat. Jeremy, we really appreciate you chatting as always, just as anybody else. Thank you guys for getting involved. Jeremy says, LOL, Volpe was the biggest bust for Gary. Not true at all. Now you can't wait to watch him. LMAO. Come on, bro. Love the young kid talk. But anyway, so just to address this really fast, no, Anthony Volpe's only a bust given expectations. So if you had expectations that he was going to be a franchise cornerstone superstar, $300+ million player, hit 300+ with pop, be a Gold Glove defender, he's done a couple of those things, right? Like being a Gold Glover, being a great base runner, but has he lived up to the expectations? Absolutely not. He definitely hasn't done that. We're always comfortable reading what he does well, and right now against left-handed pitching, he's been great. His ops is over 900. That's everything you can ask for. But you know what? His overall ops isn't anywhere near 900. So that tells you what he's doing against right-handed pitching. Is it terrible? No, it's not. Is it bust material where you say, oh, this is like Joe Adele? No, it is not. And I know, Jake, you love how Michael K broadcasts Adele.
It's the funniest thing ever. He
but
just puts him on full blast every time he plays against the Yankees.
That in itself is a bust, especially given expectations.
Yeah.
Number 1, number 2 overall pick. But Anthony Volpe was drafted to be better than what he is. But as I tweeted, I don't know if the kids like to call him tweets now, I mentioned Volpe is still a good player. He's just not as good as we were hoping he'd be, and hopefully he gets a lot better. And maybe we see that. Maybe.
I had to bring this up because you brought yours up. It was never forget when Jake said Lombard, who was batting 190 in Double-A, should start at third base when Cabrera got hurt. I didn't say he should. I said I would. And I also said that I'm a psycho, and I'm very aggressive in how I do things. So that's just how I would do it.
What did they say? I'm my own biggest critic. No, that's not true. Jeremy is your biggest critic.
Yeah.
It is honestly, you have to laugh. I mean, if you do a podcast, you just got to laugh at it.
Of course.
But again, Jeremy, we're really happy that you're here regardless. The facts of the matter is that, people will read into your comments too far. We go on, our podcast is probably longer than it even should be. We try and explain our takes. We don't think Volpe's a bust. George Lombard Jr., I mean, Jake was actually just telling me the other day. He's like, yeah, he's going to need some more time in the oven, clearly.
Yeah,
and
of course.
From what Jazz was saying, and Jazz went down to the minor leagues to rehab, he watched George Lombard Jr., and he said, I see something special in that kid. There's something about him that you guys are going to see very quickly.
See, there's the love.
Yeah, you guys are going to see very quickly what we're talking about. Now, to be fair, and in hindsight here, I heard this very similar stuff about Volpe. People were telling me that he was going to be like what you see out of Trey Turner, you're going to see that out of Anthony Volpe, and I hope to see that still in the future. But as of now, we don't get that. We've got a good player, highly serviceable, very good pro, but I don't know. It's still got to get better, Jake.
Yeah. So we got Profit X picks. We got Ryan Yarbrough 4.5 over. I'm going to take the Yankees game lines. Here we go.
I'm taking those Ks, by the way. Did you see the 4.5 Ks?
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
So Yeah. Oh, we took the K's off rip. That's the number one pick.
Yeah, that was
Okay,
the
I'm
number
sorry.
one. Had to make sure we
Beautiful.
got that.
Love it.
And then the Yankees run line. I don't know why they were plus money. That doesn't make any. Oh, I you know what? I might just roll with the Yankees money line because Crochet's on the mound. So so we're getting good value. Like this is actually like, you know what I mean? Like you can.
They're reading into the matchup a ton, which is fair. That's their job.
Yeah. But like normally it's the Yankees, it's like minus 170. It's not even like, profitable. So
let's go ahead and do that because I do think the Yankees still find a way to win this game. Boston's bullpen should be thrashed. I mean, it just should.
Of course. Let's see. Did that work? I love when like it says location services. All right, there we go. Boom, there we go. It's in there like swimwear. All right.
Maybe one more.
Yeah, total. Normally I wait until the next day, but that was too good. I had to lock that in because that will probably go up to like minus 130, I would imagine. So I'm going to take advantage of where it is right now.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Man, do I go back to the well with Narvaez?
Is Ben Rice, by the way, going to sit again? This is what I hate about sitting Ben Rice today, because if all of a sudden you see Crochet and then Boone's like, we're not going to play him because it's against a lefty.
I know.
Or let's just say he does. Why wouldn't you have played him today?
That was my first thought. By the way, not only that, Gary, Grisham is not good against lefties. So now you've put yourself in a position where you use Grisham, who is really good against righties.
And Dominguez isn't good against lefties. So
yeah,
why would you use that?
Yeah, you weakened your lineup. So tomorrow, Rice probably doesn't. No, you know what? I think Rice will play because I think Boone is going to be like, this is a get-up game against Crochet, who's one of the marquee pitchers in baseball.
So Dominguez won't play, would you guess? Because Bellinger has to play. He's reverse splits. He's definitely playing.
All right, I'm gonna make a bold proclamation here. Okay, Trent Grisham will not be in the lineup tomorrow. Jason Dominguez will, and Ben Rice. Jason Dominguez will be playing left field.
Yeah, that's definitely fair because you have to imagine Goldschmidt will play against a lefty. He's our best player against lefties.
Yeah,
he's playing.
Absolutely.
So first base is locked. Ben Rice, if he's going to play, he's your DH. So
I think they keep Wells in, even though he's not great against lefties, but they keep Wells in because he's coming off a 2-hit day. He's a catcher. Goldschmidt at first. How do they do a lefty?
Well, we're going to have someone else at shortstop, by the way.
Okay, yeah, then that already kind of fixes itself. So LeMahieu at second, Peraza at short, Jazz at third. Left field will be Dominguez. Center field will be Bellinger. Right field will be Judge. DH will be Ben Rice.
Can you imagine if Pablo played tomorrow? I'd have a brain aneurysm.
Don't even put that out there. Like that would literally ruin my day.
You just said you don't believe in jinxing.
Yeah, I know, but Boone watches our show. So like I don't No, but I know that the Yankees definitely keep an eye on what we say. I feel good about saying that. I don't know if Boone actually watches it.
So we think Ben Rice is going to play tomorrow regardless of the lefty numbers, which is fine. Hey, I'm perfectly okay by that. I'm taking Bellinger, by the way. I'm going to go ahead and take Bellinger over. I don't know what the total bases would be set at, but that'll be my last selection.
He got robbed on that line drive today, just right at the guy. So he's hitting 190. He still has a 763 OPS against lefties. Ben Rice does. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that's bad. I mean, you'd like it to be better, I guess, but yeah, I'm gonna say let's go with. I'm gonna just stick with the Jazz train, man.
Cool.
I like the way Jazz is hitting. I understand it's a lefty. What is Jazz numbers against lefties? I gotta check now.
Well, I mean, his numbers can't be great. His overall numbers are. He's hitting 220. He's
definitely. I mean, for his career, like, is he any good against lefties? It's something that I don't know off the top of my head.
He's like a career 245 hitter. I would assume he's probably like a career
220
210.
Okay.
Anywhere from 205 to 212, probably in that ballpark.
So this is weird. He hits 224 with a 648 OPS, but everything goes up, including slugging, on base, and average against the left-handed starter. So he hits
So he doesn't get on base at
231.
all.
He hits 231 and has a 700 OPS against left-handed starters for his career.
Okay. All right. Well,
I mean,
who knows?
it's not ideal, but I just like the way he's swinging the bat right now. And funny enough, this is actually funny. Small sample size, but he has an 801 OPS against left-handed pitching this year. Left-hand starters this year.
I don't even know how that's possible.
He has reverse splits. So he hits more home runs on the left side, but he actually gets on base at a 341 on base percentage clip.
Yeah,
against
I'm going to
lefty
go ahead
pitching.
and say I never in a million years will ever care about Jazz Chisholm's home run numbers anymore.
No.
Like, I'm never in a million years going to be like, oh, he could be hit 30-plus home runs.
No, give me this right here.
Give me total bases, 1.5, final selection. And Jake, what do you want him to put in the comment section?
Yeah, comment
Because mainly
section.
liking the video helps us. So make sure you guys do that.
Yes.
YouTube is dumb.
Let's bring back
make that happen.
the entertainment titles. How about we? I'm watching this show, not new. It's been around for years, so you're gonna laugh at me. I'm behind the 8 ball, right? White Collar, really fun show. So if you like Suits, you can see the inspiration Suits had that they got from White Collar.
I was watching Suits literally earlier today. So
It's one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. So, but yeah,
very, very good show.
drop White Collar in the chat, and if you want to know really quickly about it, basically it's about a felon that joins the FBI and helps them track baddies down. So there you go.
Wow. Well, like the video.